Hi everyone! So welcome to this week's special episode of V-Talks, where I will be discussing herbalism and herbs as they relate to gynecology. As you can see behind me, I'm in the Coker Arboretum right now for two reasons. Number one, because I wanted to be surrounded by plants as I talk about plants, and also number two, I wanted to try something a little out of my comfort zone. So usually, as you know, I film indoors, or if I do film outdoors, I film with the wonderful Katie Danis, so I don't feel so alone. I feel kind of uncomfortable just personally being out in public and just talking about gynecology, which is something I should really work on. And so today I decided to try to get out of my comfort zone a little bit and talk about a topic that I'm so passionate about in public. So I'm sitting here surrounded by beautiful nature. We're actually sitting in the Coker Arboretum right now, and I've lived next to this arboretum for my time in college, and it's a beautiful place. So it's summer, it's beautiful, and so this week I decided to take an expedition up to the medicinal gardens at UNC. And so there I found a lot of different herbs that have been used historically in medicine and in reproductive health specifically. So I wanted to talk about a few of those herbs, and I'll save the most interesting one for last. So we're going to talk about three major herbs today. The first one being ginger, the second one being turmeric, and the third one belladonna, or the deadly nightshade. So firstly, let's talk about ginger. Ginger, as you can see growing here, please ignore my face, is a really important herb, and it has often been used in all sorts of different types of herbal medicines. I just want to take a side note here and talk really quick about herbal medicine and homeopathy. So sometimes homeopathy is very good, oftentimes for people who can't really tolerate modern medicine, or for sometimes when heavy-duty medicines aren't needed. And in the West, we tend to think of homeopathy or herbal medicine as lesser than, and of course sometimes it can be harmful. But we have this view that all herbal medicine is kind of bad or negative, or just like not well trained, because it comes from a different culture than from the West. So we tend to view things that are not really Western medicine as less than or less credible, which, in some cases, actual medicine is needed, but in other cases, homeopathy may be completely acceptable. I know when I was growing up, my mom would often give me ginger, turmeric, cloves as cures for the common cold, or cures for whenever I had like aches and pains, or just when I was being really fussy. So I want to talk really quick about ginger in particular. So ginger is not just a cute name for a cat, it's also a very powerful herb. So ginger is a really powerful antioxidant, and it contains a lot of really medicinal properties, which is why it's found in a lot of homeopathic medicines. And so ginger is really impactful in the practice of homeopathy because it's really common, it's really easy to find, and it's also a very powerful herb. So I remember particularly for me, when I was growing up, my mom would often make ginger tea, or mix ginger with all sorts of food, even when the flavor profiles didn't go together, just because it was so medicinal and so good for you. So ginger is really medicinal. It can be used as a paste, as just like, ginger slices. You can dice it, you can make tea out of it. And it is quite possibly one of the most powerful antioxidants in the natural world. So ginger is very common, and most people already know it as very medicinal. So next, we're moving on to turmeric, and that's how you pronounce it, turmeric. The British pronunciation, I think, is turmeric. Anyway, turmeric is really powerful herb, and turmeric and honey mixed together are a very powerful antioxidant, and they're very medicinal and do a lot to support immunity. I remember for me in particular growing up, my mom would put turmeric in a lot of different foods. It's really commonly found in Indian cooking. When I was younger, I'd go to school with turmeric in my lunchbox, and I remember my classmates would be like, "Oh, ew, like it smells so bad, it's so yellow," and that is true. Turmeric is an herb that stains everything, and it's almost impossible to get turmeric stains out of clothes, yourself, your dog, any, like floors, anything. So you better be willing to like paint your house golden or something because turmeric is yellow. Now that I've gotten older, I really see it in a lot of health food trends. So I see a lot of people saying like, oh, like I love golden lattes, I love like golden teas, or I love like turmeric flavored things, or it's so medicinal and it's so good for you. Whereas when I was younger, like I was made fun of for having it. But such is life, I guess. So turmeric is really medicinal. It's often used in Ayurveda, which is a Hindu form of natural medicine, and it's been used in India for, I guess, centuries, and it's native to that subcontinent. So it's very good for you. And I remember my mom saying a tea of ginger, turmeric, honey, and cloves can literally cure anything. I don't think it cures everything, but it is definitely very good for you. So the last herb I wanted to talk about is the deadly belladonna, which you can see a photo here. And they literally just had this growing at UNC Medical Gardens, which is fine, I guess, because you're surrounded by medical students, but really? So the deadly belladonna, or deadly nightshade, is a really deadly plant, and it's really toxic. And fun fact, potatoes and tomatoes are both plants in this same family of nightshades. Belladonna, very dangerous, but it has a really interesting story as it relates to women's health. So, well, not necessarily women's health as much like women's mythology, I guess. So have you ever wondered why witches ride brooms? So this is something that I was always really curious about. When I first immigrated to America, I was always wondering, like my first Halloween, I was always just like, why are these ladies on brooms, right? And so it turns out the reason for that is because way back in the day, women who were considered witches, or people like women who had access to a lot of herbs, would often mix belladonna, so nightshade, with Jimson weed and other hallucinogenic herbs, and make a paste out of it and put it on the ends of brooms and then put it into their vaginas. And it sounds kind of odd, but so the mucosal membranes of the vagina are very sensitive, and they absorb things into the body pretty quickly, which is why there are some birth controls that are intravaginal, that go into the vagina, and then the hormones get absorbed into your body. And if you want to learn more about that, please listen to our second episode of our Vagcast, where we talk about birth control. These women, when they put the paste of belladonna and other hallucinogenic herbs into their vaginas, would hallucinate and feel really, I guess, in an altered state of mind because of this substance. And so what would happen was, because they would do some pretty weird things when they were messing around with the belladonna, they would have brooms with them, usually in between their legs. It slowly transformed that, those women were considered witches, right? Because they were doing all these weird things. They had access to all these herbs that they would mix around and things like that. And because they had brooms usually in between their legs, they were considered to be riding those brooms. So slowly over time, it just got passed into lore that witches ride on brooms. And it all started with people really just putting these dangerous herbs inside of themselves in an attempt to enter an altered state of mind. So when I found that out, I thought that was really interesting. So just a quick side note, please do not put this inside of yourself. It's pretty toxic. Please be sure to take care of yourself and your reproductive health. So after I took my first ecology class, I remember my teacher saying, everything that you've just learned about is actively under threat. And when she said that, I couldn't really believe it. But it is true. Everything that I've just told you about, all these herbs, all like the natural world in general, is under threat. And we only have so long before our planet slips away through our fingers. So I just want to take a little quip and deviate from women's health a little bit to talk about environmental conservation and how important it is. The study of biology is not just, pre-medical studies, and it's not just the study of the human body. We interact with our planet as much as they interact with us, and it's so important for us to save our planet and be good stewards of the earth so that it can take care of us in the future. And with that, thank you so much for listening to this episode of V-Talks. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.